The great chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador John Miller stood to speak. The 7 massive chairs towered above him, each occupied by a different alien species. The council members looked down at the human with expressions ranging from boredom to disgust. "Members of the council," John began, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Earth asks only for the right to develop in our own way. Our methods may seem strange to you, but they work for us." High Elder Zixlorn leaned forward, his blue skin catching the light from the stars visible through the chamber's transparent dome. "Your ways are inefficient and dangerous," he said. "The Council has standards that all civilized species must follow. Humanity has been given 50 years to adapt. You have failed." The representatives from the 6 other powerful alien races nodded in agreement. Only Thela, the Viridian ambassador with her gentle green eyes, showed any sympathy toward John. "But our progress has been remarkable," John argued. "In just the last decade, we've cured diseases that have troubled us for centuries. Our space exploration has." "Enough." The Proximan counselor's voice boomed through the chamber. "Your species dabbles in technologies you barely understand. You allow too much freedom to individual humans. There is no proper control." John looked at the faces of his team. Dr. Susan Walker, Earth's leading physicist, gave him an encouraging nod. Beside her, Jack Nelson, the military advisor, kept his face carefully blank. "We request more time," John said, trying one last approach. 10 more years to show you that human innovation." "The decision has been made," High Elder Zixlorn interrupted. "Earth will conform to Council standards within 90 days or face complete isolation from all galactic affairs. No trade, no cultural exchange, no technological sharing." The Council members pressed buttons on their chairs. A large screen appeared in the air, showing the vote. 6-1. Only Thela had voted in favor of Earth. John stood straight and looked each council member in the eye. "Then, with great respect, the people of Earth must decline your guidance." Gasps echoed through the chamber. No species had ever rejected council authority before. "You cannot decline," said the Medusan representative, his tentacles waving in agitation. "The alternative is to be cut off from the galactic community forever." John nodded. "We understand the consequences." "This is madness." Zixlorn rose from his chair. "Humanity will collapse without council support. Your economy depends on galactic trade. Your defenses rely on our protection." John smiled slightly. "Perhaps we're not as dependent as you believe." He gave a signal, and the human delegation stood as one. They turned and walked toward the exit, ignoring the shouting behind them. In the hallway outside, Susan whispered, "Do you think they suspect?" "No," John replied quietly. "They've never truly understood us. That's the problem." Jack checked his communication device. "The President is waiting for your report. Exodus Protocol is ready to activate on your word." As they boarded their ship, Ambassador Thela hurried toward them. The guards moved to block her, but John waved them aside. "Ambassador Miller," she said, her musical voice low. "Not all of us agree with the Council's decision. Some of us see the value in human creativity and spirit." John smiled at her. "Thank you, Ambassador Thela. Perhaps our paths will cross again someday." "I hope so," she replied. "The Council may soon discover how much they've relied on humans without realizing it." The human ship departed from the massive Council station. As Earth grew larger in their view screen, John thought about the coming days. The world would change forever once people learned of the Council's decision. And then, humanity would show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. Back at the Council chamber, Zixlorn stared at the empty doorway. "They'll return begging for acceptance within weeks," he said confidently. Thela shook her head. "I don't think so," she said softly. "I think we've just made a terrible mistake." The United Nations building in New York buzzed with tension. Leaders from every nation on Earth sat around the massive table, watching President Allison Carpenter as she paced back and forth. The Galactic Council has given us 90 days to submit to their control, she said, stopping to look at the worried faces. Ambassador Miller has made it clear what this means. We would lose our right to develop our own technologies. Our cultures would be reshaped to match their standards. The room erupted in angry voices. The president raised her hand for silence. We have a choice to make today, she continued. Submit and become just another controlled world in their system, or take the path of independence. Dr. Alan Blackwood stood up. The old scientist's hands shook slightly as he activated a display in the center of the room. For 30 years, we've hidden our true progress from the Council, he said. They believe we are decades behind them in many fields. We are not. The display showed images of secret facilities buried beneath mountains and hidden in remote deserts. Our quantum computing capabilities now exceed those of the Etarians. Our medical technologies have surpassed the Medusans, and our understanding of dimensional physics. He smiled. Well, the Council doesn't even know such a field exists. General Richard Sloan, a tall man with a stern face, stepped forward. Our defensive capabilities are far beyond what the Council believes. We've maintained this pretense because we saw how they treat advanced civilizations that don't follow their rules. The Indian Prime Minister raised her hand. Why not show them our true level now? Surely they would treat us as equals. Ambassador Miller shook his head. They won't. The Taurians were as advanced as the Etarians. They chose their own path. Now their world is a mining colony. So what do we do? Asked the German Chancellor. President Carpenter walked to the center of the room. We activate Exodus Protocol. The room went quiet. Many had heard rumors about this plan, but few knew the details. For 20 years, we've been building ships, she explained. Not the small vessels the Council knows about. Real ships, colony ships, warships if needed. We can take our civilization to the stars on our own terms. Dr. Blackwood added, we've identified suitable worlds beyond Council space, and we've developed faster-than-light technology that doesn't rely on their gate network. Voices rose again, some in shock, others in excitement. This is not a choice I make lightly, the president said over the noise. But I believe humanity must chart its own course. They voted. Every nation had one vote. When the count finished, the result was clear. Earth would reject the Council's demands. After the meeting, Dr. Blackwood and General Sloan walked with the president to her office. How long will the evacuation take? She asked. 1 week to move most of the population, General Sloan answered. Some people will choose to stay. We'll leave them with enough technology to live comfortably, but nothing that would interest the Council. Dr. Blackwood looked worried. The Council will be angry when they realize what we've done. By then, it will be too late, the president said. They've never respected us. Maybe now they'll learn why they should have. Later that night, Ambassador Miller prepared to return to the Council station. His aide, Paul Harris, handed him the formal response document. Do you think they'll try to stop us once they understand? Paul asked. Miller smiled. They don't have the ships nearby to stop us, and they don't know what we're capable of. That's always been our advantage. He looked out the window at the night sky. Already, if you knew where to look, you could see the flashes of light as massive ships emerged from hidden bases on the moon and beneath Earth's oceans. The Council has ruled for 10,000 years, he said. They've forgotten how to face challenges. They've forgotten how to adapt. Paul nodded. And humans, adapting is what we do best. The sky above Earth filled with ships. They rose from the ocean depths, emerged from hidden mountain bases, and descended from the far side of the moon. Each massive vessel gleamed silver in the sunlight, some stretching miles in length. Council observers on their monitoring station near Mars watched in disbelief. One of them, an Etarian named Krell, frantically sent messages back to the Council. Impossible, he whispered as his screen showed hundreds, then thousands of ships activating around Earth. They can't have built these without us knowing. On the Council station, High Elder Zixlorn received the reports with growing alarm. How many ships? He demanded. Over 5,000 large vessels and countless smaller ones, his aide reported. All of human design. None matching any registered plans they shared with us. Zixlorn slammed his fist on the table. Send a message to Earth. Demand they explain themselves. Back on Earth, cities transformed. Buildings sank into the ground or separated into sections that rose toward the waiting ships. People walked calmly to gathering points, carrying only small bags of personal items. In New York, Dr. Kate Morgan supervised the evacuation of the research district. Screens around her showed similar operations happening worldwide. Section 5 clear, reported her assistant. That's 92% of all essential personnel aboard. Kate nodded. And the data cores. All transferred to the flagship. Nothing remains that the Council would find useful. A soft voice spoke behind her. Impressive organization, Doctor. Kate turned to see Ambassador Thela standing there. The Viridian looked out of place among the hurrying humans. Ambassador, I'm surprised the Council let you come to Earth at this time. Thela made a gesture that signified amusement in her culture. They don't know I'm here. I came to see for myself what humans planned. Now I understand. Kate studied the alien carefully. And will you report what you've seen? Eventually. But perhaps not everything. Thela reached into a pocket and removed a small crystal. This contains a quantum entanglement node. It will allow us to communicate regardless of distance. Why would you help us? Kate asked, taking the crystal. Because the Council is wrong about humanity. I have studied your history. You solve problems in ways we cannot imagine. The galaxy needs that creativity. Outside, the evacuation continued. Families boarded shuttlecrafts that ferried them to the waiting ships. Children pointed excitedly at the massive vessels that would become their new homes. President Carpenter stood on a platform overlooking Washington, D.C., watching as the White House itself transformed, sections of it rising to join a waiting ship. Status report, she said into her communication device. General Sloan's voice answered. 85% of the population is now aboard. The remaining 15% have chosen to stay. And they understand what that means. Yes, Madam President, they'll have comfortable lives but limited technology. Most are older people who don't want to leave their homes. Ambassador Miller joined her on the platform. The Council is demanding explanations. Their ships are moving toward Earth, but they're still days away. By then, we'll be gone, she said. Is your family aboard? Miller nodded. On the horizon, my wife is helping set up the medical facilities. On the Council observation post, Krull watched in disbelief as huge sections of Earth's cities simply vanished, transported aboard the waiting ships. They're taking everything, he reported. Not just people, entire buildings, factories, power plants. In orbit, the massive fleet began to move in perfect formation. Ships arranged themselves in concentric spheres around the larger vessels. Then, as one, they accelerated away from Earth. Not toward known space lanes, not toward Council territories. They headed into the uncharted darkness beyond, into regions the Council had never explored. And they moved faster than Council ships could follow. 6 months passed since the humans left. The Galactic Council chamber, once a place of order and control, now buzzed with worried voices. High Elder Zixlorn called for silence, but the Council members continued to argue. My world's gravity systems are failing, said the Etarian representative. 30 major cities now face catastrophic failure. Millions could die. The quantum communication network is collapsing, added the Medusan. We cannot contact our outer colonies. Zixlorn finally slammed his staff against the floor. The sound echoed through the chamber, silencing the voices. One at a time, he ordered. We must address these problems with calm and reason. Ambassador Thela stepped forward. The Viridian looked tired, her normally bright green skin now dull. These are not separate problems, she said. They are all one problem. Humans are gone. "What nonsense is this?" demanded the Proximan counselor. "How could humans be responsible for Eterian gravity systems or Medusan quantum networks?" Thela activated the central display. Data and images filled the air around them. For the past 50 years, humans worked throughout Council space, not as leaders or owners, but as workers, engineers, and problem solvers. She pointed to the images of humans working alongside aliens on various worlds. They fixed problems we couldn't solve ourselves. The council members looked at each other in confusion. "Impossible," the Eterian said. "Humans were a minor species. Their technology was primitive compared to ours." Thela laughed softly. "That's what they wanted us to believe. Look at these records." The display showed new data. It revealed that human engineers had designed critical components for the Eterian gravity systems. Human mathematicians had created the algorithms that made the Medusan quantum network function. But they never claimed credit, the Medusan said, his tentacles twisting in agitation. "No, they solved problems and let us take the credit." Thela looked directly at Zixlorn, "And we were too proud to see the truth." Zixlorn studied the data carefully. "This says humans were responsible for 42% of major technological advancements in Council space over the past century. Yes, they understood our technologies better than we did in many cases," Thela said. "They saw connections we missed. Their minds worked differently than ours." The council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. "Can we contact them?" asked the Eterian, fear now evident in his voice. "Ask them to return." "We don't know where they went," Zixlorn admitted. "Our fastest ships tried to follow them, but the humans used some form of travel we don't understand." An aide rushed into the chamber, interrupting the meeting. He whispered urgently to Zixlorn, whose blue face paled. "What is it?" asked the Proximan. "Long-range sensors have detected ships approaching from the outer rim," Zixlorn said. "Not human ships, something else." The display changed to show strange, dark vessels moving through space. They were unlike any ships the Council had seen before. They moved in perfect formation, like a swarm of insects. "How many?" asked the Medusan. "Thousands," Zixlorn said. "And they're not responding to communication attempts." Thela stepped closer to the display. "I've seen these before. In human historical records they showed me." "What are they?" Zixlorn asked. "Humans call them the Void Heralds. Their records warned of an aggressive species from the outer darkness." Thela looked around at the council members. "Humans tried to warn us decades ago. We ignored them, said they were being paranoid." The aide returned with more news. "The unknown ships have attacked 3 border outposts. All have been destroyed." "Our defense fleets?" asked the Proximan. "Moving to intercept, but it will take days for them to reach the conflict zone." Zixlorn looked at the worried faces around him. "Perhaps now we understand what the humans knew, and why they left." The Viridian homeworld burned. From orbit, the once beautiful blue and green planet now glowed orange with countless fires. Void Herald ships moved through the atmosphere, dark against the flames. Ambassador Thela watched from the bridge of a small ship as her world fell. Tears ran down her green face. "We need to leave now, Ambassador," the pilot said gently. "More Herald ships are coming." 3 days, Thela whispered. "It took them only 3 days to defeat our defenses." The ship turned away from the dying world and jumped to safety, barely escaping the pursuing heralds. On the council station, emergency meetings ran without pause. Reports from across council space told the same story. The Void Heralds moved with unstoppable force, destroying everything in their path. Admiral Cravash, the council's military commander, stood before the gathered leaders. His holographic map showed the advancing Herald forces as red dots spreading across Council territory. "We've lost 7 major worlds and dozens of colonies," he reported. "Our defensive strategies are not working." "Why?" demanded Zixlorn. "Our military technology is advanced. Our ships are powerful. But our thinking is flawed. Admiral Cravash admitted. The heralds adapt to our standard tactics almost instantly. We fight by the rules of warfare developed over thousands of years. They don't follow any rules we understand. The Proximan counselor leaned forward. What would humans do in this situation? The question hung in the air. No one had an answer. Thela arrived at the station the next day, still wearing the same clothes she had escaped in. She went directly to the council chamber. The heralds will be here within 2 weeks, she said without greeting. They're moving faster than we predicted. How do you know this? Asked Zixlorn. I found something in our databases, she replied. A message. From humans. She activated the central display. A human face appeared. A man with gray hair and serious eyes. This is Dr. Alan Blackwood of Earth. The recording began. If you're watching this, it means the Void Heralds have returned to this part of the galaxy. Our historical research discovered evidence of their previous visits, approximately 10,000 years ago. The council members looked at each other in shock. We believe they come from a region of space beyond the outer rim, the recording continued. They appear every 10 millennia to harvest resources and advance technology. They are drawn to developed worlds. Dr. Blackwood's face grew more serious. Your standard defenses will not work against them. They use quantum disruption fields that exploit weaknesses in conventional shield systems. You will need to modify your shields using the specifications attached to this message. Why didn't we see this message before? Asked the Medusan. It was hidden, Phyllis said. Embedded in routine data transfers. We only found it because we're desperately searching our databases for anything humans left behind. Are the shield specifications there? Admiral Cravash asked urgently. Yes, but they're complex. Without human engineers, it will take months to implement them. We have weeks at most. The recording of Dr. Blackwood continued. If the situation becomes desperate, and if you're willing to set aside pride and prejudice, there are coordinates attached to this message. You'll find us there, if you need us. The message ended. A string of coordinates appeared on the screen. Zixlorn stared at the numbers for a long moment. Then he made a decision that would change the course of council history. Prepare my personal ship, he ordered. The fastest one we have. High Elder. The Atarian counselor looked confused. Where are you going? To find the humans, Zixlorn said. To admit we were wrong. Thela stepped forward. I'm coming with you. Why would they help us now? Asked the Proximan. After how we treated them. Thela touched a small crystal hanging around her neck. Because despite everything, humans never abandoned us completely. They left us a way to find them, knowing we might need them someday. The council ship Starlight cut through the darkness of space, pushing its engines beyond their limits. On the bridge, High Elder Zixlorn watched the stars streak by, his blue face tight with worry. How much longer? He asked the pilot. 3 more days at this speed, the pilot replied. The engines are already overheating. Zixlorn turned to where Thela sat quietly, her fingers touching the crystal around her neck. You've been keeping something from us, he said. You've had contact with the humans all along, haven't you? Thela met his gaze without shame. Yes, Dr. Kate Morgan gave me this communication device before they left. We've spoken many times. Why didn't you tell the council? Would you have listened? She asked. Or would you have taken the crystal and tried to force information from it? Zixlorn had no answer. They both knew what the council would have done. Can you contact her now? He asked instead. Tell her we're coming. Thela nodded. She already knows. In a private room, Thela activated the crystal. It glowed softly, projecting an image of Dr. Kate Morgan. Ambassador, Kate said with a smile. I see you're bringing guests. The Void Heralds have returned, Thela said, just as your people predicted. We need help. Kate's face grew serious. How bad is it? My homeworld has fallen. 7 major council worlds are lost. Billions dead. Kate was silent for a moment. I'll inform the president. Continue to the coordinates. We'll be waiting." The journey continued. The ship carried representatives from all 7 council species, each of them watching Zixlorn with varying degrees of doubt or hope. On the 5th day, they encountered something unexpected. A small unmanned station floating in empty space. "What is it?" asked the Medusan representative. The ship's sensors analyzed the structure. "It appears to be a navigation beacon," the science officer reported. "Human design." As they approached, the beacon activated, sending a signal to their ship. Suddenly, their navigation system updated with a detailed map of the surrounding space, showing hazards and safe routes that their sensors hadn't detected. "They're helping us find our way," Thilla said. 2 days later, they discovered more signs of human presence, small outposts, and automated defense platforms. They passed through areas that should have been dangerous according to Council knowledge, but the path marked by human beacons kept them safe. On the 8th day, their ship was attacked. 3 Void Herald scout vessels appeared suddenly from behind a small moon. "Shields up," ordered Zixlorn. "Prepare weapons." But before they could act, a blinding light flashed through space. When they could see again, the Herald ships were gone, replaced by floating debris. "What happened?" asked the Atarian representative. "Look," said Thela, pointing to a nearby automated platform. It had opened to reveal powerful weapons unlike any the Council had seen before. "The humans are protecting us," Zixlorn realized. Finally, on the 10th day, they'd reached the coordinates from Dr. Blackwood's message. But instead of a planet, they found a massive space station, a structure so large it could have housed millions of people. "It's beautiful," whispered the Proximan representative, setting aside his usual disdain. The station was not a utilitarian structure like Council stations. It was a work of art, curves and spires shining with soft golden light. Gardens were visible through transparent sections, and ships of various sizes moved around it in a complex dance. As their ship approached, a voice spoke over their communication system. "Council vessel Starlight, you are cleared for docking at Bay 12. Please follow the guide lights." Zixlorn felt both relief and apprehension as they moved toward the massive structure. What would they find? Would humans help them after how they had been treated? The ship docked smoothly. When the airlock opened, a human woman stood waiting for them. "Welcome to Gateway Station," she said. "I'm Lisa Chen, representative of the Human Coalition. We've been expecting you." Lisa Chen led the Council delegation through Gateway Station. The aliens looked around in wonder at the open spaces, gardens, and thousands of humans going about their daily lives. "This is just a checkpoint," Lisa explained. "Most of our people live on New Terra." "New Terra?" asked Zixlorn. Lisa smiled and gestured toward a large window. Outside, floating in space, was what appeared to be a small planet. But as they looked closer, they could see it wasn't natural. "You built an artificial world." The Atarian representative could not hide his shock. "One of many," Lisa said. "We have established colonies in 26 star systems so far." The Council members exchanged looks of disbelief. In just 6 months, humans had accomplished what would have taken other species decades. A transport ship took them to New Terra. As they approached, they saw a beautiful blue-green world with white clouds and gleaming cities. It looked like Earth, but even more perfect. They landed at a spaceport near a city that resembled old Earth's Washington, D.C., but with soaring towers and flying vehicles moving between them. Dr. Kate Morgan waited for them. She embraced Thela warmly, then turned to the others. "Welcome to New Terra," she said. "President Carpenter is waiting to meet you." They walked through the city. Humans nodded politely to the aliens but showed no surprise at their presence. "Your people don't seem concerned to see Council members here," Zixlorn observed. "We've been expecting you," Kate replied. "We knew the Void Heralds would return, and we knew you would need our help." They entered a building similar to the White House from Earth. In a large office, President Allison Carpenter stood to greet them. "High Elder Zixlorn," she said. The last time we met was through view screens, when you were giving Earth an ultimatum. Zixlorn bowed his head. Times have changed, Madam President. We come seeking help. Sit, she said, gesturing to chairs arranged in a circle. Let us speak honestly. For the next hour, the council members described the Void Herald attacks. When they finished, President Carpenter nodded. We have been monitoring the situation, she said. The Heralds are more aggressive than we predicted. How did you know about them? Asked the Proximan representative. We found ancient records on Earth, evidence of their previous visit 10,000 years ago. She activated a display showing images of ancient ruins. They almost wiped out early human civilization. We never forgot. Dr. Morgan stepped forward. While on Earth, we had to hide our true progress from the Council. But here, we've been free to develop our society as we choose. The display changed to show human cities, farms, research centers, and shipyards. Everywhere, people worked with purpose and joy. You've created something remarkable, Thilla said softly. We've found balance, Kate explained. Individual freedom with collective purpose. Personal creativity with shared goals. Zixlorn looked troubled. Will you help us fight the Heralds? President Carpenter's face grew serious. There's something you need to know first. She showed them new data, evidence that the Void Heralds had been guided to Council space by signals from Proximan territory. Someone wanted the Heralds to attack, she said. The Proximan representative stood in anger. You accuse us of treason against the Council. Not all Proximans, Kate said quickly. Just certain leaders who sought to use the chaos to increase their power. Silence fell over the room as the council members absorbed this betrayal. Zixlorn finally spoke. We never understood humans, did we? We saw your differences as weakness, your independent thinking as chaos, your creativity as dangerous. It's not too late to learn, President Carpenter said. Will you help us? Zixlorn asked again. Despite everything. President Carpenter looked at each council member. Yes, but not as subjects. As equals. The old council system must end. We need a true partnership of all species. Zixlorn thought for a long moment, then nodded. I agree. The council's time is over. We must build something new together. Then let's begin, said the president. We have a war to win. The combined fleet gathered near the edge of council space. Human ships formed the center, their sleek designs unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Around them, the remaining council vessels took position, their crews watching the humans with a mixture of hope and wonder. On the bridge of the lead ship, General Frank Winters studied the tactical display. Beside him stood Admiral Cravash and High Elder Zixlorn. The Void Heralds have taken control of the main council defense stations, Frank said. They're using them as bases to launch attacks deeper into your territory. Can we retake them? Asked Admiral Cravash. No, Frank said simply, but we can make them think that's our plan. He explained the strategy. It was unlike anything the council military had ever considered, not a direct assault, but a complex series of movements designed to confuse and divide the enemy. This violates every principle of proper space warfare, Admiral Cravash said with surprise. Exactly, Frank replied with a smile. That's why it will work. The Heralds have studied your tactics for months. They don't know ours. The battle began the next day. Human ships moved in ways that seemed impossible, jumping into and out of normal space at will. They appeared where the Heralds least expected, struck hard, and vanished before the enemy could respond. Council ships, guided by human tactical officers, adopted new formations and attack patterns. For the first time, the Void Heralds faced an enemy they couldn't predict. The fighting lasted for 7 days. The combined fleet pushed steadily toward the galactic core, liberating occupied worlds one by one. On the 7th day, they reached the Council homeworlds. The last of the Herald forces had gathered there for a final stand. This is it, Frank told the fleet commanders. They're desperate now. This will be the hardest fight yet. President Carpenter spoke from New Terra to all ships. Remember, we fight not just for humans or council species, but for all free people in this galaxy. Today we stand together as equals. The final battle was fierce. Herald ships fought with desperate fury, and many human and council vessels fell. But the combined tactics proved too much for the enemy. As the last Herald ships attempted to flee, they found their escape routes blocked by hidden human vessels that had traveled through space in ways the Heralds couldn't detect. When it ended, the Galactic core was free, but the cost had been high. Nearly a third of the human fleet was destroyed, with thousands of lives lost. A month later, representatives from all species, council, human, and even those from independent worlds, gathered on New Terra. They met in a great hall built specially for this historic moment. President Carpenter and High Elder Zixlorn stood together before the assembly. The old Galactic Council is no more, Zixlorn announced. In its place, we established the Galactic Covenant, an alliance of equals where each species contributes their unique strengths and perspectives. President Carpenter spoke next. Humanity will return to Earth. We will rebuild what was left behind. But we will never again hide our true nature or capabilities. They signed the new agreement together. Behind them hung a simple plaque with words suggested by Dr. Kate Morgan. What makes us different makes us stronger. Together we are more than the sum of our parts. 1 year later, ships appeared in Earth's sky. Humans returned to their homeworld, bringing with them the knowledge and technology developed on New Terra. The people who had stayed behind welcomed them with open arms. Together, they began to rebuild Earth into something new, a center of innovation and creativity in the galaxy. Ambassador John Miller, now the human representative to the Galactic Covenant, stood with Ambassador Thela on a hill overlooking the rebuilt city of London. Do you think the Council would have ever understood us if the Heralds hadn't forced them to seek our help? He asked. Thela considered this. Perhaps not. Some lessons can only be learned through necessity. And now? Now we build something better together, she said, not through force or fear, but through respect for our differences. John nodded. That's all we ever wanted.